For me, what is most satisfying is when I can deal with, either in my teaching or in my writing, when I feel I'm doing something meaningful. It's why I teach. It's the most meaningful thing I know how to do. Upon his life, like the emotional trauma he experienced, right? So I made that argument to the students who attended. When I'm able to send students off and know they're going to be leaders, they're going to be successful because I've allowed them to think for themselves, learn how to work with other people, to develop poise, those are things that as a teacher make me incredibly proud. And I'm sure you've done this, is that the voice levels are now consistent. And you also, you seem to have more authority as a host. What has worked best for me is teaching what I call servant leadership, or in this case, student-led organizations. So over the past 20 years, what has evolved from my teaching is my job is not to lead. My job is to empower my students. I am teaching student leadership, whether it's through drama, whether it's through newspaper, student store, whatever. I'm teaching student leadership is what I'm teaching. I'm teaching leadership. And hopefully, I'm teaching servant leadership, which is your goal as a leader is to serve the community. Now, where does that come from? That has to come directly from my Amish Mennonite background. I grew up in a large family. They call us conservative Mennonites. My parents had actually met in New York City where they were missionaries. They were working with Hispanic communities there, and they fell in love, and they eventually moved back to Ohio, where my mother had grown up as an Amish girl. And there they settled in. They raised a family of 8 children altogether. I'm the 4th child and the oldest son. So I grew up going to a parochial Christian school. I remember in 6th grade, my teacher introducing me to Christopher Dock, who was a colonial schoolmaster, and he actually wrote a book, and I was fascinated as a 6th grader, even though, by the way, I was an awful student. I would read instead of doing my homework. I was passed on probation from 8th grade to 9th grade with the assumption that I would at least get all C's. Something woke up in that 9th grade year, and I ended up graduating among the top half of my class, and then I did construction work. I genuinely thought I was going to be laying block for the rest of my life. Well, a year of working out in the rain and the cold finally convinced me that might not be what I wanted to do. So I ended up accepting an invitation to go to Phoenix, Arizona, where I was principal and teacher at the age of 20 years old of a small parochial conservative Mennonite school. I taught for a year, I directed the choir, did all kinds of things there, and I ultimately decided, you know, I think I really like this. And at that point, I told my father, I think I want to be a teacher. He said, well, then you need to get your teaching certification.